You know, this movie really shouldn't have been called Lockout. It should have been called Locked In, because technically we're stuck in a prison in space. Lockout stars the very talented and one of my favorite personal actors, Guy Pearce and Maggie Grace. And basically the plot to this is that the president's daughter is kind of stuck on I'll say kind of not quite in space, but kind of in high orbit prison. And basically Guy Pearce, who plays the character Snow, has to go in and rescue her, but there's a couple things on the side that he needs to take care of that are on the prison itself. Now, I'm just going to go in and say that when I saw the trailer to this a while back, this actually looked like it was going to be a pretty good movie, and it reminded me of the movie Escape from New York, starring Kurt Russell, which is a really great film. If you have not seen it, definitely go check it out. It's definitely better than Escape from LA, but that's another review on its own. Anyway, from the trailers, it looked like, it was going to be a pretty solid story, and the objectives were going to be pretty straightforward. But going into this movie, and now that I've seen it, I have to say I was quite disappointed with it, and it wasn't as structured as I'd hoped it would be. So I'm definitely gonna do a spoiler zone after this, but let me get my review out of the way. Okay. The problem that this movie had was that this movie went way too fast, especially for an hour and a half. Now, I know that an hour and a half is kind of your standard length for any movie, but you can do things fast, but you don't want to do them too fast. And really, something that would have taken, I don't know, in your standard hour and a half action movie, that would take 20 minutes, they handle in the next 5 minutes. And it's really crazy. Another thing that's just a problem was the ending was just, overall, the movie was just going too fast. The pacing was just terrible. Now, that's not to say that this was a terrible film. It did have its redeeming values, but that was really my main problem. Another thing that I had was that the CG... Okay, best way I can describe the CG in this film, you know how if giving like a 10 would be like something like Transformers Dark of the Moon, where it had like really good CG, and a 1 would be kind of like your crappy sci-fi channel, like cheap ass movies. This is kind of in the middle. It doesn't look good, but it looks like it's one level higher than what you would see on television, which was something I was really disappointed with. Now, I don't necessarily know what the budget was for this movie, but it definitely looked like it cost because there were definitely a lot of scenes with great CG, and I was wondering why they couldn't incorporate it with other scenes, especially the outside space scene. Those really looked really bad. And there's also a really terribly cut bike chase at the beginning that is just going so fast it makes absolutely no sense, because this bike looks like it's going at least 200 or 300 miles per hour. And Guy Pearce's character Snow is on it, talking on a cell phone. If you're going that fast, there's no way you'd be able to hold that phone steady and concentrate and dodge traffic and dodge all these helicopters shooting at you. There's just no way. So I stopped trying to take this movie seriously about halfway in and just tried to enjoy it as a movie. But even as that, it just fails. The villains are not very... They're not developed at all. They're supposed to be just regular prisoners, but the problem with the prisoners is that they have no objectives. Usually, whenever there's a hostage situation in just about any movie, usually they will take hostages, they will lock down the area, and they will say, this is what we want, these are our demands, and we will not hurt the hostages. No, they just go off and start killing the hostages for no reason. There's no objective. You're in space. You can't not go anywhere. And then it goes into some... I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Bottom line, Lockout, it's a pretty disappointing movie. I'm not going to say it's totally bad, because the best thing in it is his character of Snow. He definitely has the best lines. He has a few really good action scenes. You will have seen better in previous movies. I did go into this movie wanting to give it a 7 from the trailer, but after leaving it, I have to give this movie a 5. This is something I don't necessarily recommend you go see in theaters. It's definitely something you should probably wait till it comes out on DVD, or you want to rent it, or it's on TV. If you want to go have some stupid dumb fun, go ahead, but yeah, I have to give it a 5 out of 10. And with that, I'm ending my review of Lockout. Stop the video now if you don't want to be spoiled. And for the rest of you, we are now going to enter a spoiler zone. So here we go. Alright, welcome to the spoiler zone. Let's get started. Alright, the movie starts with Guy Pearce's character Snow being punched in the face, and he starts making all these witty, like, you know, tough guy sayings like, you know, I had sex with your wife, and yeah, I want you to give me a blowjob, and, you know, that's not what your mother said last week, and he keeps getting punched in the face, and this interrogator is telling him, okay, what happened in the apartment room? Apparently something went down, you know, secret agent-wise, because, you know, Snow's a retired or ex-CIA agent, and basically he has to recover this briefcase, and he needs to get it to a friend, someone who doesn't quite, someone he can trust within the government. And so he takes the briefcase, and it's a chase scene, and he goes on a roof. He tries to jump from one roof to the other. He doesn't make it. He hits the ground. How the hell he survives that, I don't know. He starts running through a crowd. A bunch of SWAT-looking guys are shooting at him. He then hops on a bike, and he starts driving on the highway, and cars are exploding, and trust me, as I said in my review, it looks terrible. It is going so damn fast, you can't tell if that's really him on a bike or if that's a CG him. It was like some scenes, when it got a close-up, you could tell it's him from the back as the camera. It's just crazy. It's like if you're on drugs and you're watching Speed Racer. It's just going so fast, you can't tell what's going on. Just things are exploding everywhere. And there's a part where he picks up a cell phone, he's talking to his friend, and his name is Mace, and he's like, yeah, I got this suitcase, so where do you want me to meet you? And it's like, well, you meet me in the subway, but be sure to ditch your phone. He's like, and apparently throwing a phone at a truck blows it up. Anyway. Okay, so he makes it to the subway, and right when he's about to get captured, he manages to throw the suitcase like 50 feet into a subway train where his friend is waiting, and he gets captured. And then we end up right back in the interrogation room. While that's happening, the president's daughter is on her way to this maximum prison in low orbit called MC1, as in like maximum complex, or sorry, MP, maximum prison 1. I mean, they couldn't have thought of a better name, like, I don't know, Butcher Bay from Riddick, or anyway. Okay, she's right now basically, the president's daughter is on this prison to kind of understand what exactly they're doing, and she's saying, well, you guys aren't really bringing prisoners here to, you know, civilize them. You're using them as lab rats to experiment if humans can actually survive in deep space. And it's like, oh no, we're not really doing that. Why don't you talk to one of our prisoners? And this prisoner obviously is crazed and is one of these, like, you know, I like to rape everything in sight kind of guys. And so she's, and okay, here's the important part. One of her bodyguards, I'm gonna call him dumb black bodyguard, is like, you know, he's with her. And basically, they tell you right there not to take any weapons on the prisoner's side of the glass. This is very important. It's in big letters. Do not bring weapons. And so he's like, okay, here's my gun. And he has like a secondary gun on his ankle. So, okay. So he goes into the room, and the prisoner starts talking to the president's daughter. And he starts making all these sex gestures, like, you know, why don't you give me a smile, baby? And, you know, I'm gonna say, like, you're gonna love me on top of you and all that stuff. And then her bodyguard's like, answer the damn question. And then as soon as he grabs the prisoner, it's like, look, I got your gun. And he starts shooting the glass, and he breaks out. So basically, this one black guy pretty much causes this whole thing. And basically, he shoots his way to the communications room on the prison, and he says, okay, I want you to unlock all 500 of these prisoners, and he does. And so the prisoners start taking over, and you know, they're killing guards, they're grabbing guns, they're killing hostages for no reason. And then the crazed guy's brother shows up and he says, stop killing the hostages, because basically you're gonna kill the only reason that they'll keep us alive. And so right then, the interrogator comes in and says, okay, Snow, there's a situation on board. Here's the thing. We are going to send you up there, and your objectives are to rescue the prisoner's daughter, get her on a pod, and send her out, and then we'll pick you both up. And it's like, okay, why should I go up there? And then some other guy shows up. He's like a friendly black interrogator, that's what I'm going to call him. And he says, okay, Snow, you know, Mace is up there because he was arrested, but he hid the briefcase somewhere, and we need you to go up there. I need you to go up there and find out and have Mace tell you where the suitcase where he stashed it. So basically, his two objectives are known to the rest of people are basically to save the president's daughter, and a secondary secret objective is to contact Mace and find out where he put the suitcase. So he says, okay. And the funniest thing happened. Do you know how with most movies that have like a space shuttle launches, they actually show you the launch? Yeah, well, this movie doesn't do that. There's one scene where he's like on the ground, not suit up, nothing. He's wearing his normal clothes. And then the next scene, I shit you not, the next scene, he's already in space, about to jump onto the space station. Okay. Anyway, so he gets on the prison, and here's another problem the movie has. For a prison that has 500 prisoners, there are a lot. And I mean, like, every hallway scene in this movie is empty. If there are this many prisoners walking around, I shouldn't see an empty corridor ever. I shouldn't see an empty room. He should have to clear out rooms as he's traveling. Anyway, so he gets in contact with the president's daughter. Right, she kind of gets stuck in like an airlock room with her bodyguard, and they're running out of air, so he pretty much kills himself so she'll have the oxygen. And then by the time Snow gets to her heart stops, and he has to, you know, use a defibrillator, and he has to stab her in the eye with something that charged up her brain. Then he has to give her mouth to mouth, and I think she hits him with something. And then they get out, and then the prisoners figure out, okay, the reason why they haven't blown us up yet is that she's the president's daughter, so we need to capture her, and then we can start making demands. But they never get that far. Anyway, I'm basically, all that happens after that for the next 20 minutes, they're basically just, Snow and the president's daughter are just, they're acting like an old married couple. They're just saying, why are you so mean? You know, that's just how I am. It's like, you know, well, you shouldn't be mean. You could be a little more respectful. Yeah, sure. Yeah, maybe I'll give you a nice cream cone, or maybe I'll give you some sex one day or something. I mean, that's what makes Snow like the best character. He's kind of that one asshole you want to hate, but he just makes things entertaining. He pretty much holds the movie himself. And later on, basically, he gets in contact with Mace, but Mace has been in cryo sleep, because that's how this prison works when he gets his prisoners. They throw him in cryo sleep so they can experiment him. And he's all crazy, and he can't tell Snow where the case is. I don't know, it's like, I foresee you, and he basically gets stuck in a room that has a hull breach, and he pretty much freezes to death. Well, basically, Snow's secret second objective is ruined, and then the guys that are running the sneaking operation basically say, okay, the situation is getting way out of hand, and we need to call the president up here so he can authorize an attack on the prison, because we really do not have control of the situation. So the president comes up and he says, okay, you need to make a call, Mr. President. We need you to authorize an attack. Like, my daughter's on there. I'm not going to do that. And so they basically pull some stupid, Congress or Democratic or whatever the hell you want to call it policy that pretty much temporarily removes the president from his power because he cannot put public safety ahead of personal matters. So now they authorize the attack. And basically Snow and the president they get to the pods and he says, okay, this is where we separate. You get in the pod and I'll stay here and I'll get in the next pod after you, even though there is no second pod. And she says, well, what about the other hostages? It's like the other hostages are going to die anyway. And instead of getting on the pod and leaving, she just shoots the pod and says, I'm staying here. We gotta go save the hostages. And then right when they're about to try to save the hostages, she says, okay, I'll give myself up if you don't kill the hostages. And says, okay, tell us where you are. I'm on level 3. They kill all the hostages anyway. And so it's like, you shouldn't have told them where we were because they were going to kill him anyway. Anyway, they get separated again. Snow falls on like an elevator shaft and he hits the ground. He survives somehow and the president gets taken to the crazed prisoner and he's about to rape her right when Snow shows up out of nowhere. I don't know how he got back up there because his map doesn't work that guides him through the prison. So, I don't know. This movie just... It's all over the place. They do things and don't explain them. That's like the biggest problem with this movie. If you're gonna do something, explain how we got there, or explain how he can do that. Don't just do it and expect us to roll with it. Anyway, by the end, they decide, okay, we're gonna have to do a spacewalk, and we're gonna get in these giant metal suits, and we're pretty much gonna jump off the prison station. And we're gonna parachute down to the ground level. And this is like the worst scene of the whole movie. Because literally, they jump. And they go through the atmosphere. You know how like when spacecrafts, when they go through atmosphere, they kind of burn up? Well, that doesn't happen with these suits. Apparently these suits can protect them from burning up in the atmosphere. And apparently that whole atmosphere burning thing only takes like 5 seconds. They're only burning for 5 seconds, and then once they're through the atmosphere burning, Snow's suit breaks apart. So he's now at probably 40,000 feet and he hasn't frozen to death. I'm sorry, if you are above 30,000 feet and do not have protective gear, you are going to freeze to death immediately. Your lungs will freeze and you will plummet to your death. So, once you get past that bullshit, apparently falling from 40,000 feet down to the ground takes like 20 seconds to do. And basically, in that 20 seconds, he's gliding and, he grabs her and her suit hasn't broken off and he pulls the parachute thing and they fall gently to the ground. This has to be the fastest atmosphere to ground jump I've ever seen in a movie. And basically, it all ends with Snow getting a hold of basically Mace at one point tells the president's daughter, like, in his crazed form, where the suitcase is, and it's kind of a riddle. She gets a hold of the suitcase, she gives it to Snow, Snow gives it to his informant, and the informant starts typing in the little, password thing to the suitcase that apparently has these governmental secrets, but that's a whole side story that's not even important. There's only, they do like 2 minutes at the beginning of this, and it's not mentioned the entire film. And anyway, he wonders, wait a minute, how the heck did you know the case? So you're the one selling the secrets. And so his only supposed friend is a traitor, and he gets arrested, and he goes in some bullshit rant saying, you are just a grunt, and you're expendable, and the government needs snakes like me because I have information they need, and they need people like me, and I'm gonna get 2 years of jail. And he's like, and Snow's like, okay, sure, whatever. And then at the end, he's walking with the president's daughter outside wherever he's being held, and they're making a bunch of jokes, and it basically ends with, hey, it depends on how good you are in the bedroom, and the movie ends right there. And the biggest bullshit of all is, I skipped a part because it was just so stupid. Here's how they take care of the prisoners, because apparently the big threat is that since no one up there can run the systems on the prison, that the whole prison's about to crash into the eastern seaboard of the country. So basically their plan is to send a bunch of X-Wings, I'm not even kidding, a bunch of X-Wings, and they're gonna pull off some bullshit Death Star, Skywalker, I'm gonna fly in, I'm gonna drop a bomb, I'm gonna get out. And they do that, and this bomb doesn't blow up on impact. It like attaches to like something inside of the prison, and it blows up everyone. So basically, the villains get kind of killed off in 2 seconds. There's not even like a final fight. There's no confrontation. They all get blown up in 5 seconds from the military, from some person you don't even know. It's just a random character. That's how the prison, that's pretty much how they solve this whole situation. This movie is a mess. I have no intention on seeing this again unless I'm drunk or whatever. Trust me, I recommend, if you want to go check it out, be my guest. As I gave in my previous review, I'm going to give this a 5 out of 10. It was definitely very disappointing. And that is this episode of The Spoiler Zone. If you like this video, please like, comment down below, subscribe up top. Please send in your movie or game requests so I can get them out. And like always, I will see you next time. Thank you for watching.